let's talk a bit about the investing side of the equation and what it takes to put together a portfolio. As basketball players, you understand what it takes to win a championship. You need more than scoring. You need playmakers. You need defenders, rebounders, role players. You might need some experience on that team. If your best player goes to the bench in foul trouble, you might need instant offense to come off that bench. But those that don't understand the game, if they were to put together a team, they might put together a bunch of very ball dominant 20-point per game scoring guards. And even NBA GMs tend to do that every few years, and oftentimes the result isn't what people expect. The goal is to endure a long season, and all of these different pieces are extremely relevant. You may find that offensively you're struggling. Well, your defense and your rebounding can keep that game close and keep you within striking distance. It's not much different from an investment perspective. The stocks and the investments that have tended to outperform more recently might be the types of investments. If I asked everybody on this call, what are some investments that come to mind? You may say things like Bitcoin and Amazon and Google and Apple, companies you know, names you're familiar with, and likely things that have tended to outperform the past several years. But that doesn't mean you need a portfolio just of Apple, Google, Peloton, Netflix, and Bitcoin. The first half of 2022 is a fantastic example of that. You may want to include high growth stocks, yes, but value stocks, international stocks, emerging market stocks, bonds, commodities, a diversified portfolio that may likely include some names and sectors and concepts that have underperformed recently. But it's the same idea as when your offense is booming and your best player's firing on all cylinders. In that moment, you may not value your bench because your starting five is carrying the load. But the moment something happens, or there's an off night, or someone goes down for injury, you need them to step up. Commodities have drastically underperformed for many, many years leading up to the end of 2021. Well, guess what has been one of the only well-performing parts of the market in 2022? Commodities. They had their day in the sun. The Boston Celtics had Al Horford all year, and he did some good things during the year, but he shined when they needed it most in the playoffs. That's why you have a resilient, diversified portfolio, and that's why you have a resilient, diversified basketball team. Just like you need to endure a long season that's going to have lots of external factors and challenges that are thrown at you, you need a portfolio that can endure many market cycles and the unexpected, such as recession risks that we've seen this year, the tragedy that's happening in Ukraine, what's going on with the oil and gas markets. It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen. A portfolio that can handle all of it really becomes a recipe for success.